The global population continues to face many challenging situations daily. Climate change, financial losses, fear, anxiety, sickness, death. It may sometimes seem like this season of gloom will never end, and many are losing hope. The future may be daunting, but in the midst of your hopelessness, I can assure you that God, who is the creator of this world, still has the world in the palm of his hands, and for this reason, you can still have hope.
want to welcome you to the Wednesday night Bible class for the Stonecrest Church of Christ. It is always a plum picking pleasure that is presented to us each Wednesday night to be able to come into your offices, your homes, your living rooms, your bedrooms, your places of abode, your cars, wherever you view this program from. We want you to know that we are delighted each Wednesday evening to be able to share, but we're more delighted that you take the time to join us in a study of the Word of God. Thank you so very, very much. Before we begin our presentation on tonight, I will remind, first of all, members of our congregation of our upcoming Season Saints Supper. This is a time of the year in March where we take the time to honor those who have paved the way for us. There are members of our congregation, 65 and older, that we designate simply not old folk, but seasoned saints. And it gives us an opportunity to honor them by sponsoring them in a banquet with entertainment, food, and fellowship. And we look forward to this each year. Now, I would remind those in our congregation who have already committed to sponsoring a seasoned saint on March 8th that the festivities start about 2 o'clock. So it is imperative that you have your sponsored saint at the building somewhere between 1:30 or 1:45, getting them enough time to be lined up. We march them in and we just treat them like the jewels that they are. So start now, calling your saint, letting them know what time you're going to pick them up, letting them know about the arrangements that you have made for them. Secondly, I would remind our general viewing audience that in the next few months, in the month of May, we sponsor what we call an Issachar conference. It is a virtual online conference where we invite outstanding men and women throughout our nation to lecture around a designated theme. Our theme this year is based upon Ezra chapter 3, verses 10 through 13. Read that sometimes, and you're going to discover that the children of Israel, namely Judah, had been in captivity for 70 years. They have now returned to the land. And one of the first things that they're going to do is to rebuild the temple that had been broken down and destroyed by Nebuchadnezzar when he had come 70 years earlier and took Judah into captivity. And now the people are back in the land and they're going to rebuild the temple. And as they laid the foundations of the temple, the text says that the ancients, the older people, looked at the temple and they began to weep. They began to cry. But the younger people looked at that temple and they began to rejoice. And so from that text, our theme this year is going to be starting a new course by navigating historic waters. Men and women will develop that thematic thrust the week of May 4th through May 8. Now, uh, real important, and I need you to start going to the website right now and making contributions because uh, there is no charge for the workshop, but we do ask people for contributions because we sponsor either a college or a person or an organization or a ministry. Last several years, we've been sponsoring a Keep It Real ministry. Last year, we even sponsored 2 African students matriculating at Abilene Christian University. We were able to send both of those entities about $5,000 based upon the contributions that you made to the Issachar conference. This year, we're going to focus our contributions to the Lincoln Avenue Church of Christ in Altadena, California. You've been watching the news recently, and you've seen all of the fires out in Los Angeles, California. People have lost not only life and limb, they've lost property, they lost their livelihoods, they've lost their businesses. But the Altadena Church of Christ lost their place of worship. Members were displaced, have no place now to worship because the fires ravaged so that it burned down their property. And so what we want to do, our church has already made contributions to it, but we want to make contributions to it from funds that we raise from the conference itself. We'll tell you more about that in the weeks to come, but make your way to the Issachar Conference webpage and start making your contributions. And we'll see that a significant amount of those contributions will go toward the Altadena Church of Christ and helping both members and helping them to get back on their feet relative to an assembly place where the people of God meet for both worship and for ministry. Now, I want to bring your attention again to the subject matter that we've been talking about for the last several weeks relative to the church. We look at the church today in terms of all of its corruption, of all of its divisiveness. And of course, that doesn't bother us a great deal simply because, watch this, we've grown up with it. We become accustomed to it. But I will remind you in the prayer of Jesus in John chapter 17, where he prayed that his people would have unity and would be one. But we become so accustomed to the divisiveness and the division in the religious world that it didn't even register on our radar screen anymore. No. For the last several weeks, we've looked at several things. We've looked at 2 views of the church. We spent a great deal of time in Matthew 16, 13 through 20, giving you the biblical view of the church. We talked about that conversation that Jesus had with his disciples there in Caesarea Philippi. But there's another view of the church, and that's the historical view. Now, I have said to you over the last several weeks that the church in history does not always resemble the church in the Bible. See the church. See something, and I'm gonna get into this tonight. Something happened to the church in the Bible in history. All right, let me push pause, hit rewind, and then hit replay. Uh, the church, as was revealed in the Bible, something happened to that church in history. In fact, the Bible predicted and prophesied that something was going to happen in time and in history to the church that was revealed in the Bible. And we want to look at that on tonight. Now, problem is that we look at the church in terms of what we have come to call and accepted and not question denominations and sects and cults. And that's the way the majority of people look at the church in the Bible. It has been split up and broken up into denominations, into sects, and into churches. But what I've been showing you is that the Bible doesn't use that nomenclature. The Bible doesn't use that kind of terminology. We look at the church in terms of the Catholic Church or the Lutheran Church or the Presbyterian Church or the Baptist Church or the Methodist Church, and we don't see much distinction nor difference or even concern, simply because look, they were here when we got here. We didn't challenge them then, and most folk don't challenge them now. But the Bible doesn't describe the church in terms of a cult or a sect and or a denomination, which means part of the whole. In fact, most people just simply believe that, listen, it doesn't matter what church you belong to, just as long as you believe in God. It doesn't matter what church you go to, doesn't matter how you choose to worship God, just as long as you believe in God. Well, I have serious issues with that kind uh, of faulty reasoning, particularly when the Lord prayed for unity among those who would believe in him. But watch this. We do not find those names that I just named. In fact, I should have gotten the book out for you before I began this presentation. But my college textbook is called Denominations in the United States by the late Dr. Frank S. Mead. When I went to college in 1970, that was my textbook. And that textbook has gone through more than 15 different revisions. And it is still a textbook in most Bible colleges and seminaries. It is one of the standards, and it lists and lines all of the major different denominations in the United States, telling how they got started, telling what they believe, and all of us consult that reference as a standard work in the concept of denominations in the United States. Now, but the Bible didn't recognize them, and the Bible does not authorize them. Well, what I about that? Why do they exist? Well, let me say first of all that while the Bible doesn't talk about denominations and cults and sects, when the Bible get ready to describe the people of God, those are not the names that it uses. In fact, what the Bible talks about are the different images by which the people of God are identified. The people of God are called, watch this, the body of Christ. They're called the Church of God. They're called churches of Christ. Now, these are not different denominations. Biblically, they are not. They're called the Church of the Firstborn. They're called disciples. They're called salt. Uh, they're called by images because these images are teaching a truth concerning the people of God. Now, before this series is over, I'm going to look at some of these images with you. Like, watch this: the body of Christ. Oh, why does now see? This is not the name of the church. This is not the name of some denomination. This is an image to help us see how the people of God is to function. We're to function like a body. We'll get into that in the days in which to come. But I want you to watch this graphic that I have on the screen now. The church in the Bible predicted that certain things would occur in history that would compromise and conflict with the church in the Bible. Okay, let me hit pause, hit rewind, and then replay it again. The church in the Bible predicted that certain things would occur in history that would compromise and conflict with the church in the Bible. I've already looked at one with you, and that's 1 Timothy chapter 4, verses 1 through 3. I've looked at that with you the last couple of weeks. I want you to see another story that Jesus tells, how that the church in the Bible uh, would he predicted that something in time, in history, extra biblical in terms of time, would occur that would conflict with the church in the Bible. Now, I want you to watch the story that Jesus tells. It's recorded for us in Matthew 13, beginning at verse number 24. Jesus tells, he uses a genre. He uses a story called a parable, and it's a parable about the kingdom. Now keep that in mind, because you'll remember that in the very first message, we said to you in Matthew 13, Matthew 16, beginning at about verse number 16, where Jesus says to Peter that thou art Peter, you're isolated stone, but upon this rock, those are isolated stones coming together to form a bedrock, a bedstone, a mountain, if you will. He said, thou art Peter, but upon this rock, I will build my church. Gates of hell shall not prevail against it. And then he says to Peter, and I will give you the keys to the kingdom of heaven. So in that context, Jesus parallels the church with the kingdom. Now, see again, it's an image. When you talk about a kingdom, you are talking about a king. The king has territory. The king has subjects. The king has, and so he's giving you an image of the church as a kingdom. In the kingdom, Jesus is the king. You and I are the subjects. His word is the law. But then a kingdom has to have a realm, a territory. Jesus says that is, watch this, in this story, uh, uh, king has to have place in which to rule. America is a sovereign kingdom. It rules within 50 states. Russia is a kingdom. It has territory. It's been in a war the last 3 years with another country, a neighboring country called Ukraine, where it wants to take its territory. That's why there's a war going on. So every king has to have a realm. He has to have a place in order to rule and to reign. Watch this. Jesus rules and reigns in his church. Who teach the Bible, Dr. Barclay? Now, I want you to watch this. So when we talk about a kingdom, that's an image. But watch this. Church is an image too. Church is an image, watch this, of an assembly, an ecclesia. We've explained this, an assembly that has been called out of the world to assemble, to take care of the business of that community. The church takes care of the business of the king in his kingdom. Watch the story that Jesus tells in Matthew 13:24. Uh, and he tells it in the form of a parable. Now, walk with me, stay with me. Watch this. See, parable uh, is an unknown story. I'm sorry, let me clear that up. A parable is a known story that you throw or lay aside besides something that is unknown. In this device called parable, you tell a story based upon what your audience already knows. In order to get them to understand something that you're trying to get across to them that they do not know. Look what Jesus has. He put another parable before them saying, the kingdom of heaven is compared to a man who sowed good seed in his field. Come here. He's trying to let people know how the kingdom of heaven operates in the church and on earth. They don't know. That's unknown to them. So what he has to do is to tell a story that they do know. Okay. Come here. He's trying to get across to them how the kingdom of God is going to operate, or the kingdom of heaven is going to operate on the earth. That's fuzzy to them. That's unclear to them. So he tells them a story that they do know, that they are familiar with. He says, the kingdom of heaven is being compared, watch this, to a farmer who sows good seed in his field. Ooh, watch this. He wants to explain something. He wants to inform something. He wants to teach something about the kingdom of heaven on the earth. Now that, watch this, there's going to come a time when the kingdom, the church, is going to be infiltrated, ooh, corrupted, in, eliminated, sectarianized, baptized. But in order to do that, he tells them something that they already know, and it already functions. Watch this in everyday life. Uh, the people of the first century who lived in what we call today modern day Palestine were an agrarian kind of people. No, I don't understand agrarian. Okay. It means they were farmers. They were ranchers. Uh, they lived off the land. They didn't have tractors. They didn't have the technology that we have today. They were people who worked the land. So Jesus was accommodating. Oh, he talked to people in their language, in their culture, and in their understanding. So he said to people who were familiar with farming, he said, the kingdom of heaven is like a man, watch this, who sowed good seed in his field. So he talks about a farmer who goes out to his own field and he puts tomato seeds, he puts corn seeds, he put bean seeds, he put onion seeds, he put all of these different uh, collard green seeds and mustard green seeds. He put all of these seeds, watch this, and he put them in his field. He didn't put them in somebody else's field. He sowed seed in his own field. And then watch what the text says. But while men were sleeping, says he sowed in his field, and then he says, but while men were sleeping, his enemy came and sowed weeds among the wheat and went away. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Verse 26 says of Matthew 13, so when the plants came up and bore grain, then the weeds appeared also. Okay, stop. Watch this. He's trying to show you how that the church and the kingdom was going to be corrupted. That the kingdom, the church, was going to be infiltrated. And the one who will infiltrate and corrupt the church would be an enemy. Okay, let me help you again. If I take you back to Matthew 16, Jesus says, upon this rock I will build my church. And look what he says. The gates of hell shall not prevail against me establishing my church. Jesus says, when I establish my church, it will be established in the faith position. Satan, the enemy of Jesus, is going to try to stop him from building his church. Watch it. He's not going to stop him. But then after Jesus builds his church, he now warns the church that while my enemy could not prevail against me building my church, my enemy is going to infect my church, denominate my church, sectarianize my church. And the way he's going to do it is by sowing Watch this. Seeds, he's going to preach a message and he's going to put it alongside of the message that I'm having preached. Watch this. What message does Jesus have preached that causes people to come into his church? That message is called the gospel. So what does Satan do? Satan has a gospel. Say what? As I preach to you tonight, the gospel of Jesus Christ, Satan will have preachers who preaches his gospel. And his gospel is different from the gospel of Jesus Christ. Paul would say in Galatians chapter 1 and verse number 6, he said, I'm amazed that you're so soon removed from him who called you into the gospel of grace to a gospel, which is another. But there be some, you got it, that would prevent the gospel of Jesus Christ. But though we are from heaven preach to you any other gospel than that which you have received, let him be in the story. Jesus is trying to say that when his message is preached to the world, Satan comes along and preaches a singular message and corrupts the seed that has already been planted in the hearts of men. Friend, you need to hear this. You need to hear the next couple of lessons. You need to be in the next couple of Bible studies because what Satan has strategically done is place his message in the same field that we have planted the seeds of the kingdom. Oh, Dr. Barclay, teach that Bible. Now, I want you to watch what's going to happen. The seed of the kingdom has been planted. Satan comes along in the same field and plants his message and confuses and get people to buy into his message while making them think it's the same message as the gospel of Jesus Christ. See, that's what happened in the book of Galatians. That's why Paul is so ticked off. That's why Paul is so angry. Because there were those who came behind Paul and preached different gospel. And there are those tonight who have preached and are preaching not only a different message, but a different church. I'm going to finish this story next week. Please take the time the next week to read the story because and this is what I want you to do. I want you to read the whole story because Jesus tells the parable and his disciples start scratching their head. Yeah. And so what Jesus will have to do is explain the parable that I just began to read to you. And so we're going to look at the explanation of the parable next week. And friends, look, when Jesus explained it, ain't no sense in me having to explain what Jesus explained. He's the master teacher. Uh, and so all I'm trying to show you is that The church in the Bible predicted and prophesied that something would happen in history to the church revealed in the Bible. And what I've read to you tonight is the beginning of that process. And we will finish it on next Wednesday night. Until then, may the Lord of the harvest bless you, and may he bless you real good.